Hello, friends, and welcome back to the new episode of I Don't Work Here, Lady. And our first story about what to do if you're constantly being mistaken for an employee on a cruise ship. I really don't work on this cruise ship, lady. A few years back, my SO and I were lucky enough to win a free 3-day cruise to Japan. We live in Shanghai. So we packed our bags and head out to the port where we begin our merry Japanese adventure. Since we had won the cruise, we were treated like the other VIP members on the ship that paid top dollar for their tickets, access to the VIP lounge, free drinks 24/7, and round-the-clock service that was actually quite exceptional. What we quickly realized, though, was that I was the only non-Chinese person on the boat that wasn't an employee. I'm a white American, and my SO is Chinese. The first situation to arise from this factor was that other actual employees thought I was the new guy on board who got on in Shanghai. This resulted in me having to explain to several people that, yes, I can actually be in this area while the guests are awake because I am, in fact, a guest. The other semi-annoyance that occurred daily were the Chinese guests mistaking me for a staff member. I would constantly get asked to bring towels and fruit to rooms, when the next performance was, when does the casino open, only in international waters, and these people were itching to play baccarat for some reason, the hours of the duty-free store, do you have a child sitting service, does the pharmacy have Chinese traditional medicine or only Western medicine, and anything else you could possibly think of. I've been an expat for many years and speak Mandarin, so in the beginning I would politely explain to them that I was on vacation too, and if you just look over there, it's an actual employee that can assist you. 95% of people would accept that fact and go see an actual employee. About 5% would argue with me that I must be because I'm Laoi, foreigner, and this cruise was Chinese only. They were obviously lovely people. So I just figured F it and played along to have some fun and practice my Mandarin. It began with a woman asking me to bring towels to a specific room. I said, yes, ma'am, right away. Then strolled over to the bar and began at-sea day drinking, which, if you weren't aware, is mandatory on a cruise. Next few people asked for towels and fruit, and I assured them that I would make it my personal mission to see to the timely delivery of their requests. Eventually, it devolved into me giving fake directions for how to get to certain stores and restaurants, taking drink orders, being asked some fairly interesting questions about the function of the ship by a kind older gentleman who gave me a cigarette. He was interested in how the ballast worked on a ship of that size. He was pretty cool. And just general bitching about the service and how they couldn't smoke inside except for the casino. This ship was pretty massive, so I never had to worry about running into these people again and continued to have my fun. When I told my SO about my dastardly ways, she had a good laugh and encouraged me to continue. She actually suggested I use my Beijing accent that she had taught me. She's a Beijinger, to add further confusion to the situation, as it's quite rare for a non-native to have a region-specific passable accent, which I absolutely did. Anyway, this went on for the entire 3 days, including during our trips to inland Japan, as several of the people on our bus had rightly assumed I was a Chinese-speaking employee accompanying them as a tour guide. At a little town called Sakai Minato, I pulled facts straight out of my butt and was lauded for my immense knowledge of both Chinese and Japanese culture. I was one of the good Laoi. And that's the story of how I got a job on a cruise ship. And our second story for today. I'm not a truck driver. I don't work here, you knucklehead. Background. So basically, my group of friends are big car fanatics, and we tend to work on our cars ourselves. While working on our cars, we wear throwaway clothes that get generally very dirty. My friend works for the city as a private contracted snowplow driver and wears his reflective uniform when working on our cars. While finishing welding the exhaust in my car with the help of my friend, we go to the nearby coffee restaurant for some food. When we arrive, there's a truck parked at the back. Once inside, we begin to order food until a manager comes towards us and asks what we're doing. We'll go with M for manager and OP for me, F for my friend. Here we go. M, what are you doing? OP, ordering food? M, ordering food? You're not even done with your job yet. Get your job done or I'll have you written up for insubordination. F, we don't work here. M, don't lie to me. OP, oh, no, we don't work here at all. I pointed to my friend's jacket with the city logo, and the manager just ignored that. Then he says to us, get back into the office now. We ignore him, obviously, and laugh a little about the ridiculousness of this situation, he comes back out and tells us to get into the office now. And now we're pissed. F. We don't work here, man. At this point, the manager begins to shove us to the office to another man, maybe someone higher up than him. We're pretty annoyed at this point and yell a few expletives at the guy to try and get our point into his tiny little brain about the fact that we're customers and don't work there. He doesn't care and escorts us the rest of the way to the office. M. To the other manager. Contact TDL and get these lazy effers written up. TDL is the distribution warehouse located in our city for this coffee restaurant. He then continues to berate us, not yelling, but in a very angry voice, how we were late already and that they're now very behind due to our incompetence. The other manager then notices my friend's jacket and the logo on it and tells us that we can leave and to close the door behind us. Then we hear some yelling. As we're leaving the store so angry now, we see the original manager come back out, also pretty angry. He sheepishly mutters an apology and tells us he's had a very stressful day and gave us each a $25 gift card for the restaurant for our troubles. Behind him, you could see the other manager standing in the distance with his arms crossed. I know this may not be as exciting of a story as some of the others, but I did want to share it. And the third story today, the Karen and the boss. Okay, this is one juicy, albeit semi-long one, but first, some background info. I'm 55, male, autistic Asperger's, and suffer with Tourette's when hyper-excited or stressed out. I own a graphic design operation and have a gorgeous Downs teenager in the front of the shop, which I adore and treat like a daughter. The front of the shop is a little too tight for my power chair, which is why I always use the rear entrance. Now to the story. So I showed up a little late for an interview with a prospective manager, and as I pulled into the disabled area outside the shop, a woman came up to me demanding why I was parked in the disabled bay, as clearly I wasn't disabled. So I pulled out the blue badge and put it in the window and ignored her silly rant. It's fake, obviously. It's a fake. I'm reporting you to the police. Fine, go ahead. I'll wait here. And I smiled sweetly to her. Soon enough, the police arrived and asked what the commotion was about. Karen told them I was blatantly disregarding the laws and parking in the disabled bay. I asked the nice officer if I could exit my vehicle and explain. I pressed the button on my console and the boot popped open. Then I began to drive my power chair out the back and down the ramp. Karen's jaw dropped so far she almost had to retrieve it from the pavement. Anything else? The nice officer asked the Karen before walking away. So now the juicy bit starts. I drive my chair around the corner and into the rear of the shop, per usual, and set up, ready for the interview, leaving a red-faced Karen sputtering red-faced with the officer. Soon after I settle down, I hear the shop door open and a customer arrived. I can hear Janet welcome the person with the usual greeting. Hello and welcome to shop name. Please feel free to look around if you need anything. Feel free to ask and I'll endeavor to be of service. Not another effing one was screeched. You should all be aborted and less of a burden on this country. Obviously, Janet was taken aback and sputtered out in, excuse me? You're all the effing same. No brain and all drain. I'm here for the interview and the first thing I'm going to do is fire your useless butt and get someone competent instead. Now, go and get your boss, as some jerk muffin caused me to be late. By then, I'd heard enough and called out to Janet to show the person through. I could hear her barge past and arrive at my office. The look on her face when the jerk muffin, as she so eloquently spoke of, was the interviewer, smiling sweetly enough to give her a cavity. I waited until the color finished draining out of her before letting her know how I felt about her. Hello, Miss or Mrs. Please take a seat. I hear you have a great resume and are exceptional at managing a business and customer service. Now, please tell me, who the F do you think you are coming over all high and mighty? Yes, I did hear you berating Janet and telling her she was going to be replaced as soon as you get hired. Well done, genius. You win first prize, which is absolutely effing nothing. Now get out. And if I see you in here again, I will not be able to restrain myself. But, no effing buts. Get out, or you'll be arrested for trespassing. I think she broke the land speed record exiting my establishment. Oh well, maybe the next applicant will sue. Edit. You are not going to believe this, but believe it or not, there's more to come. So I just got back to my establishment from our local supermarket, still crying with fury and laughter at what just happened. I took Janet to get her food with mine, so I closed up the shop when we went to get food for us. And who do you think we see at the store? Yep, it was Karen. Now, I'm not someone who's known to hold a grudge for long, so I smiled sweetly in her direction and waved. She went paler than my sheets and hurried off. Well, it was her loss at the end of the day. A few minutes later, while we were at the deli counter, lo and behold, security arrived with Karen in tow. There they are, pointing to us. They're the ones who verbally assaulted me, and I demand that they're escorted out and banished from here. Now the security guard looks at me and Janet in bewilderment and asks what happened. Before I can explain, Karen butts in with the old, "I already told you" routine. "Get the manager here now. I demand you give me a huge discount for the stress you and these people are doing to me." Well, I nodded slightly to him and said, "Please do." After about 8 minutes or so, the manager arrived and looked at me and Janet. Before he could say anything, I said that this lady had a complaint regarding us and your retail outlet. Well, cue Karen's dirge and "oh, woe is me" lecture about how me and Janet's disgraceful behavior towards her was so upsetting that she had to go get security to escort us from the premises. The manager looked at her with a look of, "What are you smoking?" Well, shall we look at the CCTV footage and take it from there? Janet couldn't help herself anymore and says, "Hi, Daddy." The second time this week, Karen needs to retrieve her chin from the floor, sputters something almost intelligible, and storms off. "Don't come back now, you hear?" Manager called after her. I can't wait for an episode 3 if there is one. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.